The clinking of cutlery and the soft chatter of my family echoed around the dining table. It was supposed to be a peaceful family dinner, laughter, stories, and warmth. My wife, Rachel, sat across from me, dressed elegantly as always, pretending. Everything in our marriage was perfect. I leaned back in my chair, forcing a smile. "Darling, how about some wine tonight?" Rachel glanced up, shaking her head casually. "No, dear, I'm trying to lose a few pounds." The table chuckled softly, but I didn't. I couldn't. I had carried a truth for too long, and tonight, in front of my family, I let it spill. I laughed lightly and said, "Or is it because you're taking antibiotics after catching an STD on your last work trip with your boss?" The room went dead silent. Forks froze in midair. My wife's face turned pale, her lips trembling, but before she could speak, my eldest daughter's face stiffened with fear. She leaned toward me, her voice barely above a whisper. "Daddy, there's something else I need to tell you." Before I continue this story and reveal what happened next, please press the like button, subscribe, and share this video, because what you're about to hear will shock you to your core. The air was heavy, thick enough to choke on. Rachel's hand shook as she reached for her glass of water, while my younger kids sat frozen, too young to fully grasp the storm that had just erupted. But my eldest daughter, Emily, her eyes told me she knew much more than I could ever imagine. She swallowed hard, then looked at me with tears welling up. "Daddy, it's not just about Mom and her boss." My chest tightened. "What do you mean?" Her lips trembled as she spoke. "I saw them. In our house. Not just him, Daddy. There was another man too, and Mom. She told me if I ever said a word, she'd send me away, that no one would believe me." Rachel slammed her hand on the table. "Emily, that's enough. Don't you dare. Don't silence her," I snapped, my voice colder than steel. Emily broke down, clutching my hand. "Daddy, Mom's been lying to all of us. She's been meeting them while you're gone." She thought I wouldn't understand, but I do. "And there's something else." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "She wasn't alone on that last trip. I found messages, videos, proof." The table shook beneath my clenched fists. My wife's mask of confidence was slipping, and for the first time, I saw pure fear in her eyes. But deep inside, I also felt something far worse than anger. Heartbreak. Emily wiped her tears and pulled out her phone with trembling hands. She scrolled quickly, avoiding her mother's glare, then handed it to me under the table. On the screen were screenshots of text messages, explicit, shameless, and undeniable. My wife's name appeared again and again, messages arranging hotel rooms, whispering secrets, mocking me behind my back, and then there was a video. My stomach twisted as I watched Rachel laughing with her boss in a hotel room, clinking glasses, saying, "He'll never know. He's too blind. Just a soldier who fixes things." My hands trembled, my blood boiling, but Emily wasn't finished. "Daddy, there's more. She wasn't only with him. There was Michael, too." I froze. "Michael? My best friend?" Emily nodded, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to tell you. But they laughed about it. Mom said you'd never have the courage to leave her." The room spun. Betrayal wasn't just in my marriage. It was in my friendships. My trust, my home. Rachel suddenly stood, her voice sharp and venomous. Enough, this is nonsense. She's making it up to turn you against me. You know how dramatic she is. But her hands were trembling, her voice cracked, and the color drained from her face. Deep down, I knew the truth. And so did everyone else. Sitting at that table, the silence was deafening, broken only by the faint buzz of Emily's phone still in my hand. My wife's face hardened. She wasn't crying. She wasn't apologizing. She was smiling. You think you've uncovered something. Shocking. Rachel's voice was steady, almost chilling. You've only scratched the surface. The kids looked terrified. I clenched my fists. What are you talking about? She leaned closer across the table, her eyes locking on mine like daggers. Michael wasn't just my affair. He was my escape. And do you know why? Because your so-called best friend has been in love with me since before we got married. The only reason he stayed close to you was to stay close to me. My heart sank. Emily gasped. Rachel smirked. And here's the real twist, our marriage. It was never meant to last. You were always just the convenient soldier, the provider. But Michael, he promised me a future without you. The room exploded in gasps. My younger son burst into tears. Emily clutched my arm tightly. For the first time, I realized Rachel wasn't ashamed of her betrayal. She was proud of it, but then Rachel made one fatal mistake. She whispered just loud enough for me to hear. And don't forget, if you try to expose me, I know things about you too. Her confidence sent a chill through me. What did she mean? What secret could she possibly hold against me? Her words hung in the air like poison. I know things about you too. I stared at her, my jaw tightening. What secret, Rachel? What could you possibly hold over me that compares to what you've done? She smirked, enjoying every second of the power play. Do you really want me to say it in front of the kids? Or should I remind you about your last deployment? The money that went missing? Michael told me everything. Emily gasped. Daddy? My blood froze for a moment. Yes, money had gone missing during that deployment. It was one of the darkest periods of my service, an investigation that had never been fully resolved. But how could Rachel know? And why would Michael? Then it hit me like a bullet. Michael, my best friend. The man I trusted with everything. He was the one who had access back then. I stood slowly, staring Rachel down. You really think you're clever, don't you? But here's the truth. Michael wasn't protecting you. He was protecting himself. Because that missing money? That wasn't on me. It was on him. Rachel's smile faltered for the first time. Emily looked at me with wide eyes. Daddy, do you mean Michael framed you? I nodded slowly. Yes, and your mother's been helping him cover his tracks all along. The table shook as Rachel slammed her fists down. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But her panic was all the proof I needed. And in that moment, the betrayal wasn't just about love. It was about lies, corruption, and a secret alliance between my wife and the man I once called brother. The room was still shaking with Rachel's outburst when the front door creaked open. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hallway. My gut clenched. Before I even saw him, Michael, he walked into the dining room as if he owned the place, his suit pressed, his smirk cocky. And the worst part? He didn't even look surprised. "Well," he drawled, adjusting his tie, "I guess dinner conversations have gotten lively." His eyes locked on Rachel, then slid to me. "Did you finally tell him?" Emily gasped. You framed Dad." Michael's smirk widened. "Framed? Sweetheart, that's a strong word. Let's just say I made sure your father's reputation wasn't as spotless as he pretends. Men like him get medals. Men like me get money. We both played our roles." Rachel let out a nervous laugh, trying to regain her composure. "See? This is what I meant. He's too dangerous, too unstable." But I stood, slamming my hands on the table. "You think you can come into my house and keep lying? My kids deserve the truth." Michael's smirk faltered slightly. "Truth? The truth is, you've already lost. Rachel's mine, the judge is mine, the money's mine, and soon," he glanced at Emily, "your children will see you for the failure you are." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Emily tightened her grip on my arm, her voice trembling. "Daddy, we can't let him win." And as Michael's smug laughter filled the room, I silently vowed this was the last time he would ever step foot in my home. Michael leaned casually against the wall, his confidence dripping like venom. "Shall we tell him, Rachel? Or should I?" Rachel's face went pale. "Don't, Michael, please." I narrowed my eyes. "Tell me what?" Michael chuckled darkly. "Your darling wife isn't just guilty of a little workplace fling, soldier. No, she's been helping me for years. You think I managed those transfers alone? Who do you think handed me the passwords? Who whispered the dates of your deployments when you'd be too far away to notice?" "Rachel," Emily's hand shot to her mouth. "Mom, is it true?" Rachel stammered, her eyes darting between me and Michael. I didn't mean for it to go this far. At first, it was just money." He promised it was temporary. But then Michael cut her off with a laugh. "Temporary? No, sweetheart. You enjoyed every bit of it. The trips, the gifts, the restaurants. You chose me the day you betrayed your husband." Rachel's shoulders slumped, her smirk gone, replaced with shame and desperation. I could feel my heart breaking, but not for her. For my children, who sat there watching their mother's mask shatter. Emily whispered, tears in her eyes. "Mom, how could you?" Rachel reached out across the table, her voice shaking. I wanted more. I was tired of living with a man who fixes sinks and follows orders. Michael, he made me feel powerful. Her confession cut deeper than any blade, and in that silence, as my daughters sobbed and Michael smiled in triumph, I knew I could either crumble under the weight of betrayal or finally bring them both down. Michael leaned back, savoring his victory, but he had no idea the battlefield had shifted. I pulled my phone from my pocket and placed it on the table. "You know, Michael, you've always underestimated me. Soldier, handyman, simple man. Isn't that what you called me?" He smirked. "Because it's true." I tapped the screen, and suddenly his own voice filled the room, a secret recording I'd made 2 weeks ago when I suspected his game. His laughter, his threats, his confession about bribing the judge and manipulating Rachel. Every word echoed through the dining room like gunfire. Michael's face drained of color. "You," Rachel gasped, covering her mouth. "You recorded Him? I stared straight at her. I recorded everything. Every phone call, every meeting, every time you both thought I was blind. And guess what, Rachel? The military taught me more than how to hold a gun. It taught me how to gather intel. Emily's eyes lit with hope for the first time that night. Dad, you mean? I nodded. It's already backed up. And tomorrow morning, every file goes straight to the DA's office. The bribed judge, the fraud, the affair, all of it. Michael lunged toward me, but I stood, towering over him, my voice like steel. Sit down. You've played your game. Now it's mine. For the first time, Michael hesitated. Dot and Rachel. She looked at me not with anger anymore, but with fear, because she knew her world was about to collapse. The silence was suffocating. Michael's jaw clenched, his eyes darting between my phone and Rachel. He was calculating his next move, like a wolf caught in a trap. Rachel, trembling, suddenly pushed back her chair. Wait, listen, this isn't all on me. Michael forced me. He said if I didn't help him, he'd ruin our family. Michael let out a harsh laugh. Oh, don't play the saint now. You begged me for more, Rachel. You loved the thrill. Don't you dare pretend you weren't enjoying every dollar. Rachel's voice cracked as she turned to me, her tears flowing. Please. I was wrong, but I never stopped loving you. I can help you put him away. Just don't let me go down with him. Emily glared at her mother, disgust written all over her young face. Stop lying, Mom. You don't care about Dad or us. You only care about yourself. I stayed silent, watching as the two snakes devoured each other. Michael slammed his fist on the table. You ungrateful traitor. After everything I gave you, you'd turn on me just like that? Rachel shrank back, her mask fully shattered. I'll testify. I'll give you every document, every message. Just please, don't let me lose my children. For a brief moment, the room felt like a battlefield. Rachel clawing for survival, Michael snarling like a cornered beast, Emily crying quietly, and me standing calm, because the war was already won. I leaned in close, my voice low, steady. Rachel, you already lost your children the day you chose him over us. Her sob broke something deep inside her, but I didn't flinch, because tomorrow the truth would burn everything she and Michael had built, and I would finally walk free. The courtroom was packed, buzzing with whispers. Michael strutted in with his usual arrogance, Rachel trailing behind him, pale and broken. But when the evidence was presented, the recordings, the bank transfers, the judge's suspicious rulings, the atmosphere shifted like a storm breaking. The judge who once smirked at me now looked cornered, his face red, sweat dripping. Michael's confidence shattered piece by piece as his own words echoed through the courtroom speakers. Rachel tried to speak in her defense, but her testimony only revealed how deep the betrayal ran. And me? I didn't need to say much. My silence carried more weight than their excuses. The gavel slammed. The judge announced Michael would face charges for fraud, corruption, and obstruction of justice. The bribed judge was removed from the bench pending investigation. Rachel, though spared prison for her cooperation, was stripped of custody. When Emily and my youngest, Noah, ran into my arms, I finally felt the heaviness lift. Their little voices whispered, "Daddy, we're safe now." Rachel sat on the bench, staring at me with hollow eyes, realizing the empire she built on lies and lust had turned to ash. Michael shouted, cursed, fought against the bailiffs, but his power was gone. As I walked out of that courthouse, holding my children's hands, the world felt brighter. I wasn't just a soldier or a handyman or the nobody they mocked. I was the man who protected his family no matter the cost. And, for the first time in years, I allowed myself to smile, because the truth had finally won.